Writing the essay, Part 2. Going back to your main idea. Your main idea is your topic sentence. It basically tells your reader what your paragraph is about. You can't give a topic sentence about fruit and then include examples like steak. Steak should go in the meat paragraph. Here are your two main ideas, your main topic sentences. The first one, in The Outsiders, there are many similarities between the greasers and the socials, would be for the similarities paragraph. The second, there are also many differences between the greasers and the socials, would be for your differences paragraph. Your supporting idea is an idea that supports your main idea. It's an idea that is true in real life as well as in the novel. For example, if I were to write an essay about favorite foods, my main idea would be favorite foods, and my supporting idea would be fruit. In The Outsiders, there are many similarities between the greasers and the socials. That's my main idea. What's an example of the similarities between the two groups? Well, they're both defined by their appearance. So that's going to be my supporting idea. First, the greasers and the socials are both defined by their appearance. Now, appearance is just one of the many ways that the two social groups are similar. Context is the situation. It's when something happens in a story. Context introduces the part of the story you're about to discuss. Before I include a quote, I need to inform my reader where in the story I'm referring to. When Pony and Johnny are about to cut their hair off in the church. Next, I can give an example of my supporting idea. The example is a specific part of the story that proves your supporting idea is true. First, the greasers and the socials are both defined by their appearance. When Ponyboy and Johnny are about to cut their hair off in the church, they're afraid that they won't look like greasers anymore. Next, I can include my quote. Now you're ready for a quote. A quote is whenever you use the exact words of someone else. You may think that a quote is when a character says something, and that's only partially true. A quote is any time that you take the exact words of an author or another person and you use them. Notice how I do this. First, the greasers and the socials are both defined by their appearance. That's the supporting idea. When Pony and Johnny are about to cut their hair off in the church, that's the context. They're afraid that they won't look like greasers anymore is the example. Now's my quote. Ponyboy says, comma, quotation, our hair labeled us as greasers, it's our trademark. Don't forget to include a citation in parentheses. Citations are really important because they prove to the reader where we got the information that we say we found. The first time you provide a quote from a certain author, you must include their last name, date, and the page number where you found the quote. Ponyboy says, comma quotation, it seemed funny to me that socials were just like us. In the parentheses, I have to include the author's last name, Hinton, the date, 1995, and the page, page 37. Each is separated by a comma. The date, 1995, refers to the copyright date, and I want to make sure that I always take the most recent copyright date. If you're not quoting the author, but referring to a specific fact or detail that you found in the novel, you only have to provide the author's last name and a date. Notice how in the first example, I have to cite out the entire name, date, and page number. But in the second example, I don't have to. After you reference the author for the first time, you only have to include the date, in parentheses, for facts, and then the page number, in parentheses, for quotes. If you were to include facts or quotes from a different author and then reference the first author again, you must include the full citation. You won't need to do that for this essay, however. You will need to know this for science fair. Ponyboy says, comma quotation, our hair labeled us as greasers. It's our trademark. Hinton, 1995, page 71. In this case, I give the full citation because it's my first time referencing the author. The socials are also identified by their style. Ponyboy says, comma quotation, maybe we couldn't have Corvairs or Madras shirts, but we could have our hair. Page 71. The second time, I don't have to include all the information because I've already shown that this quote comes from S.E. Hinton in 1995. But then I move on to a different quote. The poem, Nothing Gold Can Stay, demonstrates how nothing good can last forever. This poem comes from Robert Frost, and the publication date is 1923. Because I've now switched authors, the next time that I refer to S.E. Hinton's work, I have to go back and give the full information again. Her name, Hinton, the date, 1995, and the page number where I found the quote. You'll notice on your outline that I've used the color purple to signify transition words. I want you to use the words first, next, and last with each of your supporting ideas. In your second paragraph, you'll use the words first, second, third. I want you to be very specific here and use the words that I'm giving you. So I won't give you credit if you say first of all, next, last of all. I want it to be exactly what I'm showing you. This is a game of Swerdlow Says. I'd like you for your first paragraph to use first, next, last, and for your second paragraph to use first, second, third. These words are only going to go with your supporting ideas. That's why it's important that you make sure that they go into your outline. That way you won't make the mistake of putting them before an example, or a detail, or even a quote. I use the color green to signify the speaker of a quote. There are many ways to introduce the speaker of a quote. Whenever you use a direct quote, meaning the exact words from an author, try using the following technique. Two-Bit explains, comma quotation, the socias are rough. They gang up on one or two. Notice in the next quote that I change it a little. I say Ponyboy remembers, comma quotation, and then I give the quote. You don't always have to use the same exact words. Instead of saying says all the time, Pony says, Two-Bit says, Derry says. Try using other words that mean similar things, like explains, remembers, recalls, thinks, states, asserts, describes, and the list can go on and on. Be creative, you'll get more points. There's a difference between direct quotes and indirect quotes. There are many ways to introduce the speaker of a quote. Whenever you include an author's words exactly, you must use quotation marks. You use an indirect quote if you're reporting a fact in your own words that you learned from the author. When you report a fact, you do not need to include a page number, only the date of publication. Look below. He says that socias wear Madras shirts and ski jackets. That's a fact. I did find that from the book, but since I'm putting in my own words, I don't have to say what page number I found it. I can just say, in parentheses, 1995. But greasers, now I'm going to use a quote. Wear our hair long and dress in blue jeans and t-shirts. And the quote goes on. Once I've ended the quote, I have to give a page number because those are the exact words from the author. You don't have to provide a citation for your own ideas. When you're older and much stronger writers, you'll dedicate the majority of your writing to your own original ideas. But for now, you need to practice presenting facts without plagiarizing or cheating. This teaches academic responsibility, and I want to make sure that you get a lot of practice with this now before it's really going to start to count later in high school and then in college. For organization, your essay should be 2 distinct paragraphs. One on the similarities between the greasers and the socias, and the other on their differences. To receive the full points for this category, first, do not include any differences in the similarities paragraph, and second, don't include any similarities in the difference paragraph. This is like saying, don't put any information about meat in the fruit paragraph, and don't put any information about vegetables in the meat paragraph. Focus on the big picture ideas to demonstrate that they are similar, and then use the specific examples to show how they're different. For example, they both like cars, girls, and movies. That's the big picture idea. But they're interested in different types of cars, different types of girls, different types of movies. By showing that even though both groups are defined by their appearance, you can get specific and show that they have different ways of dressing. If you use my ideas for your supporting ideas, examples, and quotes, then you can't receive points for originality. You may use one or two of my supporting ideas, so long as you provide quotes that are different from the ones I gave you in my sample outline. You'll receive more points for using your own supporting ideas, examples, and quotes. You'll also receive more points for using quotes that come from later on in the story, but you should always seek to use the best quotes, the ones that best support your point. Don't worry about losing points for originality if you used some of the quotes that I showed you in class or put up on the board. I showed you the quote sheet because I really wanted you to use some of those. What I'm trying to have you not do is take the exact information that I gave you in only my sample outline and use it as your own. If you do, you can still get a 90. It just means that you won't get any points for originality. So now it's time to put it all together. Follow along with the sample outline I posted on my Homework Hero website and the one I handed out in class to you in the packet. Notice how I remove the outline and put all the pieces together. If I've done this correctly, the essay will flow smoothly from one idea to the next. Listen to how the paragraph flows when I put it all together. In The Outsiders, there are many similarities between the Greasers and the Socials. First, the Greasers and the Socials, or Socias, are defined by their appearance. For example, when Ponyboy and Johnny are about to cut their hair off in the church, they're afraid that they won't look like Greasers anymore. Ponyboy says, "Our hair labeled us as Greasers. It's our trademark." The Socias are also identified by their style. Ponyboy says, "Maybe we couldn't have Corvairs or Madras shirts, but we could have our hair." Next, Socias and Greasers both have similar interests. In Chapter 3, when Pony is talking to Cherry, he realizes that Socias also like cars, music, and movies. Ponyboy discovers that there is a basic sameness between them. He thinks it's humorous to learn that Socias also like music, even though they listen to different musicians. Ponyboy says, "It seemed funny to me that Socias were just like us." Last, the Greasers and the Socias have similar behavior. When the Greasers are at the drive-in with Cherry and Marcia, Two-Bit says that they both like to fight. Two-Bit says, "Skin fighting isn't rough. It's the best way to blow off steam." In that same scene, Two-Bit explains that Socias also like to fight. He remarks, "Socias rumble in their social clubs." Great! So we're just about done. If you followed all the steps and done the work properly, you should be able to practice write your essay. If you really want to make sure that you get a good grade on this, I'd take some clean pieces of paper and actually try to write your essay. It's like test driving a car before you buy it. You want to make sure that that car works smoothly before you drive it off the lot, right? Just like that, you want to make sure that your essay goes really smoothly before you turn it in. So, spend 40 minutes or so and try practice writing it. If you notice that you get stuck, you'll know you have to do a little bit more work on your outline. If you don't get stuck, then you're ready. You'll come in with your underlining, annotation complete in your book, and don't forget, it must be your own book. And you can't write out your outline or your essay in the book, or I'm going to unfortunately have to confiscate it, give you a blank, clean book with no writing in it. And that would be very sad. So please, be responsible. Do your work beforehand. If you'd like to use sticky tabs, I showed you in class the best way of including them. You can write your supporting idea letter, like supporting idea C, and S for similarities or D for differences. In the margins, you could even write the big picture idea that you're comparing, like appearances or values. But you can't write out an entire sentence. It's shorthand to help you remember. You shouldn't have a book full of stickies, though, so be careful and use them sparingly. I really hope that this video has helped. If you find that you're stuck, try watching the part that you're stuck on again. See if you could unstick yourself. If not, send me an email. If I'm around and I could respond to you, I'll try. But I do keep busy over the weekends writing tests and preparing for the upcoming week, so I may not have the time to respond to you in the way that you need. Don't worry. I'm sure you're going to do great. Get plenty of rest Sunday night so that you can wake up Monday refreshed and ready to go. Bring some sharpened pencils and make sure your brain is screwed on tight. This is Mr. Swirlo, and thanks for tuning in.